Redditors who have been in actual physical fights with other people. What started it? My friend allegedly spent too much time looking at another dude's girlfriend at a party, and somehow the correct response to this was to sucker punch me in the face. Maybe they thought you were an easier target than your friend. Usually alcohol. I worked as security at a campus bar when I was younger. A lot of testosterone mixed with alcohol caused a lot of very stupid people to make very poor choices and try to fight the bouncers. Pro tip: if a bar has bouncers, they are used to trouble and there's most likely more than one and they're probably bored. Not a good idea to start trouble with one. I second this. Knew a former bouncer. Dude's been out of it for like 5 years but he gets a chief or PPL to give them a reason to throw their asses out. We worked in a dumpster fire of a warehouse with sky high turnover. Apparently his demeanor is pretty normal for the industry. Bouncers love a good reason to manhandle an idiot. In high school a girl was leaning in the ask me a question at lunch. At that exact moment there was a fly near my face. Reached up to swat it away and accidentally hit the girl in the eye with my finger. Her boyfriend jumped up and raced over, screaming about me hitting his girl. I did not have much chance to put up a fight before he hit me and I woke up a little bit later. I recall hearing her tell the guy that it was an accident, and my parents pressed charges. No idea what happened to that guy except that he dropped out later that year. There's been a few. One good one was the kid that harassed me in high school. He would always sit behind me and poke me with his pencil. One day I had enough. Stood up and tipped his desk over with him in it. It was the kind that the seat was part of the table. Next day he poked me so hard with a pencil it drew blood so I punched him in the face. Then we fought. It got broken up by the teacher. Neither of us ended up getting in trouble for either incident. Another was over a girl, her ex, who she wasn't totally over, and me, her new boy toy. She started drama on purpose which in hindsight, massive red flag. Anyway we ran into each other at a party and she just starts escalating. And we fought for a bit. It got broken up by some other people. Nothing makes me disrespect a woman more than lets you and him fight. She was a witch to me every gym class. I finally had enough and stood up to her. So she slammed my head into a concrete wall. It escalated from there. We became friendly after that though. I slammed a girl's head into a brick, not concrete, wall after school. Grabbed her by the ponytail, and then ran. So incredibly satisfying. She'd been part of a group that had been bullying me all through middle school. I was walking on a bridge about to go bridge jumping into an irrigation canal with my buddies. A big truck swerves across the lanes and almost hits us. I flip off the driver and immediately the truck turns around. The driver gets out and proceeds to tell me that he is going to f***ing kill me. Then we engage in a fight. He tries to throw me over the bridge but I managed to get to the ground. He hit me over the head at least 5 times before getting off me. I landed one on his chin but it didn't slow him down. Long story short he was on M. It wasn't a fair fight lol. And was sentenced to 5 years. He was already on parole. I had a gnarly time testifying in front of him and his one friend who stared me down like he was gonna kill me. M around and found out. Once I got in a fight in the 3rd grade and it was with a special kid but me being like 6'7" I just thought he was annoying but I didn't do anything about it until one day this kid, let's call him Ed. One day Ed walks up to me at free time and says something along the lines of I bet I could beat you up and at this point 6-year-old me was fed up so I said well let's fight at recess. He said okay and so we did when I found Ed at recess and we started fighting. I ended up winning 3-0. I remember he tried to kick me in the balls multiple times but I was a tall kid and he was pretty short so his foot barely hit my privates. I told my mom and my brother about the fight and I told them it was with Ed and later that day my mom told me what special Ed was and why I shouldn't do that but my brother was proud because he didn't know Ed was special. Special Ed. This guy at school was constantly trying to get me to show him my tea or grab my tea, but treated me like crap. We were maybe 14. Yes, I won the fight. Good job. This dude back in high school wanted to prove that he could kick my butt. That's it. That was the whole rationale. I was a lanky tall dude who maybe weighed in at 135, and this dude wanted to say he was able to beat me up. For context, I was raised with no male influence at home and my hobbies included video games, reading, being an AP student, and writing stories with my friends. I did my best to avoid conflict as a kid. Not exactly a notch in your belt as far as toughness goes. Apparently when blindsided with a smack to the side of the head. Though, I did have a capacity for conflict, as distasteful as it was. Not saying I won, because I was bleeding too, but I didn't make it easy. Frick that guy, with something hard and sandpapery. In school, we were around the age of 11 I guess. A guy from another class, same year, have been bullying me for months for basically existing. Examples being, that he felt I look more like an Alan. Just to be clear, that's not my name. He also bullied me for sailing and boxing in my free time. He defiantly had the attitude of someone believing to be better than his peers. Anyway, one day at recess we played football or soccer if you prefer, and he was way better than me. But I had maybe 10 kilograms more to move with than him. Not much I know. So I was able to take the ball from him and he flipped, pushing and kicking me, and something just clicked and I headbutted him. He dazed to the ground. He never did anything again. My teacher knew the history and just let it go since she knew that it was his own fault. Who in their right minds would bully someone for boxing, lol. Dude is asking to be punched in the face. Mostly middle school. I'm Russian, but live in Canada, and after a class about the Cold War, some people got pretty mad at me for existing. I once got hit with a glass of Guinness because the bar I was working in wouldn't let a customer change the football match on TV. In the same bar 20 Scottish lads started a riot because Scotland were losing a match on TV. Both incidents were fueled by football and alcohol. I suppose the TV was a common denominator as well. I have been in several, but this was my first. He was one of my bullies and I usually just ignored him. But one day he started talking some absolutely horrible stuff about my grandpa, about how he was supposed to die in an accident and that he is happy my grandpa wasn't able to speak or leave the bed, and later tried to destroy my school bag and books. I grabbed him by his arms and just threw him to the ground and held him there. I wasn't punching him or anything, but his friends were mocking him so hard about the fact that a girl beat him. He actually stopped bothering me after that, so win-win. Only been in one physical fight before. I was 3 and riding my first trike, and some 5-year-old wanted to ride it, so he tried to push me off, and I sent him home with a bloody lip in one punch. It started out as an argument and then later progressed into her stabbing me with a pencil, me yanking her hair and then her trying to choke me. A dude tried to mug me. It wasn't a long fight and honestly I was a dumbass teen with undiagnosed ADHD and no phone on me, so I just shrugged it off afterwards since I didn't get hurt too badly. My friends always joke that I was lightly stabbed cause the dude had a knife and grazed me with it. For context, the dude was definitely tweaking. I have a really hard time comprehending speech without my ADHD medications, and he got impatient. I'd taken self-defense classes since my flight response has never really existed, and they definitely paid off since I honestly had no idea what was going on until afterwards. So, long story. The only fight I have been in was when I was 15 and the other person was 30. So, my uncle at the time was like 50 and married a 30-year-old. Well, one weekend they stayed at our house. The first night it started going downhill. She told my sister and I we were being too loud and it was past our bedtime. It was 9:30 and we were teenagers in our own house. We didn't have a bedtime. The next day, I caught her and her stepdaughter, who was like 20-25, talking crap about my mom. They never really liked my mom that much, which is whatever, but how dare they talk bad about my mom in her house. I was pissed and called them out. They were both red-faced and said I didn't know what I had heard. So I tell my mom, and I'm just so mad in a 15-year-old girl kind of way. She blows it off and tries to calm me down. Day 3, we're having a cookout or whatever with some of my family and parents' friends. We're getting set up and people start showing up. My dad assigns me to making pink lemonade in a 5-gallon drink cooler. I start doing it and my uncle's wife comes up to me bossing me around or whatever, and my exact words were, "If you think you know everything, then you do it." And I just walked away, leaving all the stuff there. A couple hours pass and I'm sitting at a table with my friend, my brother and his wife. I'm holding their 6-month-old baby in my lap. My uncle's wife comes to the table, and standing across from me, I think she had been drinking, begins to scream and cuss at me and tell me what a B I am and how much she hates me and if I was her kid she would beat my butt, etc. Well, she's holding a drink in her hand and after she's done ranting, I don't even say a word, just stare at her blankly. I was a 15-year-old girl and knew exactly how to pee people off. Well, she says I'm so mad I could just dump this drink right in your face. I shrugged my shoulders and said then do it. And oh my gosh she freaking did it. Well, I sort of blacked out because I didn't even think and barely remembered what happened next. I just remember my brother bear hugging me with my feet off the ground. Apparently, she dumped that drink right in my face and I threw the baby on my sill lap. Went around that table and beat that BS butt. I thought my dad was going to kill me and I cried so hard once I realized what had happened. But my dad was more or less on my side. He doesn't condone fighting, but he realized that she had been treating me like crap the whole time. Just goes to show, age does not equal intelligence. You were definitely the smarter person here. Frat bro smashing glass bottles on the sidewalk and throwing glass bottles at my porch at 2 AM. One swung at me when I came outside and squared up. I countered and his face landed in broken glass. Then he was disoriented and punched his friend who was with him after he helped him up and knocked that kid down. 200% knockdown ratio in street fights might be my most impressive life stat. Double kill. High school, there was a douchebag in my year who liked to pick fights then run off. So he provoked me. I ignored him till he said something about raping me later. I ran after him. He ran. Unfortunately for him I was one of the fastest runners in the district. I body slammed him against a wall. As he bounced off it, I turned and punched him. He hit the wall again, got knocked out, got a major concussion and 3 cracked ribs. I got a 2-week suspension, but when he came back to school, he wasn't very mouthy anymore. Cane LMAO it fits. Punched an abusive boyfriend in the face when I was 19. Don't really want to get into everything that led up to it. I regret using physical violence, but I think I was too young and inexperienced to know what else to do, and it's the only thing that allowed me to escape. I regret using physical violence. Don't. If it was a true DV situation, violence is the only thing they understand. If the choices are he gets a punch in the face and you escape, or you get severely beaten. An argument over whether there's a Halo mod in Minecraft or not. The resultant injuries were me getting stabbed in the head with a pencil by my best friend. Next day he came to apologize because apparently there was a Halo mod in Minecraft. Interesting. It all started with the worst summer camp game ever. It was Minecraft themed, and the goal was to collect cardboard boxes and build a shelter for the night, while mobs, camp counselors, run by and knock it down. And if they tag you, you have to spend some time in the center of the field before returning. The rules were poorly thought out, and there was basically no way to fight back, so it was practically impossible to make any progress before having it destroyed. It felt very unfair, and I was quickly becoming very frustrated. But then there was this one kid, who was probably the son of one of the counselors or something, IDK, but he was running around and knocking over cardboard houses just like the counselors, except he was also taunting the people making the houses he destroyed. After I got tagged and sent to the center of the field, I saw that kid plow through a bunch of houses before coming near the center of the field. Furious, I shouted at him to stop. He then looked at me with a smug, evil smile and said, "What are you gonna do about it?" And that's when I snapped. I'm normally a very calm person and I hate fighting. But that night, this kid broke me. I discovered fighting instincts I didn't even know I had, and I beat the crap out of him, even going so far as to choke him before I realized what I was doing and released him. He stepped back and looked at me in horror and just said, "Okay, I'll stop." When I saw the look of fear on his face, I was horrified by what I'd done, and ran away for a while. I hated myself that night. I caused a bit of a scare when everyone realized I was missing after the game, and when my friends found me it took them a long time to calm me down. Thankfully, I haven't snapped and done anything like that since. People like to celebrate underdogs who beat the crap out of a bully, but it's really not fun at all. When you snap like that, you're not in control of what you're doing. It's terrifying and makes you feel like a monster. He lied about me not tagging him in tag and told me I was a fat ass and I could never touch him. So I shoved him, went to shove him again and his fist almost missed my face. I realized then and there if I kept going I was going to get beaten and stopped. Former stepdad. Mum had a friend round. He'd had a drink, bit of an alcoholic. He tried touching my mum's friend. She didn't like. She pushed him. I laid the C out, broke an eye socket and nose for him. Shortly followed by divorce papers off my mum. Good on you. Been in plenty in my 26 years. I started a couple because people had stolen things from me, notably a phone at the time with personal pictures of my late father on it. I went to town on him and he never came back to that school. 16 at the time. I also started one due to my low self-esteem at the time. A dude a lot smaller than me was taunting me with something trivial. I can't remember what. All what matters is that it was immature and I had no right to do what I did. It wasn't the biggest of fights, but I still feel awful to this day for lashing out at him. On the other hand, I've had people square up to me and I've defended myself. When I was 20 I was hanging with a few friends and these two new guys rock up on bikes. They were mutual friends of some people in our group, but I had no idea who they were, and just from observation you could tell they were scum. 5 minutes and they shout to me, "Oh, are you with the red t-shirt?" and I instantly knew what was about to happen. They demanded I gave them my phone and bike, so naturally I laughed, and as they went to react I lamped one in the jaw. Times like that you have to get the first hit off. I got a couple more in before his buddy grabbed me and I was dragged to the floor. All this time my male friends did nothing to help. It was the girls in our group who split things up thankfully. The guys claimed they were only joking and of course I was filled with adrenaline and told them to frick off in the most obscene manner I could at the time. They did warn me that if they saw me again it'd be bad for me. I'm glad our paths never crossed again, since I think he was serious about that threat. I have a very good friend, best friend, and in school we were very comfortable with hitting each other in class. He started hitting me a lot and one day he gave me pedigree, triple one. Every time in washroom he used to fight with me and I usually responded back. One day in washroom filled with students and lunch break he slapped on my face as a joke. I slapped him very strongly that everyone shouted hooroo dart. Then we both were on. Floor pay teacher came but he was very nice and didn't complain to my class teacher. This was 2 years ago when I was 15 yo. Generally, bullying of some sort. Physical, that is. Somebody decides to take a cheap shot because they figure they can get away with it. I respond. They escalate, and I go full on in response. When I was living with my sister and brother-in-law, they had a day-long party with friends. Went out drinking, playing pool, darts, came home, kept drinking. By midnight, my sister and brother-in-law, among others, wanted to call it a night, but a friend's brother refused to end things and go home, which meant others, who were his ride, couldn't leave, and the guy was really disrespectful to my brother-in-law. At this point, I got home from work. Sister tells me what's happening, so I offer to plainly tell the guy it's time to go home. Well, first thing, I approach the wrong guy and tell him things are done. Time to go home. Boom. The actual troublemaker, who was like twice my size and bigger than my brother-in-law, too, jumps up, curses me, and starts to pin me to the wall. I'm not big, but I'm very fast, have had some martial arts training, and, because of a lifetime of being bullied, I have certain reflexes when I'm attacked. So, I punched him in the throat as he tried to grapple me. Note, I'm aware of how dangerous that move is. I pulled it, caught him in the trachea with the web between thumb and fingers. So, it hurt, but didn't do much real damage. Luckily, his brother grabbed him before it went further, at which point, basically, he gave up and agreed to go home, complaining about the cheap shot all along. I guess he couldn't speak right for a week after. Naturally, I'm part of the team that says, nah, frick him, he got what he deserved, but good on you for showing restraint with your shot. Back in high school, my mom's abusive second husband had broken my arm over the summer, so I had a cast on my right arm. There was a bully that had been picking on me for quite a few years at this point. He knocked my books out of my hands in the hallway at school and shoved me against the wall. On a normal day I would have taken this abuse, picked up my books, and just kept walking. Unfortunately for him, I was not in the mood for his bulls that day. I fought back and hit him in the head with my cast twice before security broke it up. I got suspended for 5 days for fighting, but my bully got a concussion and 5 days suspension. It was worth it because that butthole, or his friends, never fricked with me again. I hope your mom left that guy. My mom had one of those and a kid with him. It's the worst. A broken bone is next level though. Kid was picking on me in year 6 of primary school. He threw pencils at me so I threw a chair at him. Still don't regret it. Kid was in butthole. Someone spit in my grandmother's face right in front of me. Was a rough time, but I like to share the story as the time I hit someone so hard they crapped themselves. 3 rapid hits to the kidney. Their mistake for trying to grab my head and leaving their side open. Humans are squishy. For the love of God, cover yourself. I have only ever been in one that was legitimate, and it was with my older sister. I was tired of her treating our mom like crap and yelling at her. She's an old lady and my sister is an addict idiot who can't keep her crap together. After years of her stealing our crap, lying, physical intimidation, and being an embarrassment to our whole family, I had enough. There are few things in my life that gave me more pleasure than that moment when I unclasped my watch and connected my fist with her face. That black eye was well deserved. He tried to carjack me with my kids in the truck. I kept my truck and my kids. He had an arm broken in 2 places. Don't frick with my kids. Got to a fight with a guy because he called my wife a fat butt cow. She was 7 months pregnant at the time. We were just walking down the sidewalk leaving a restaurant right up the street from the large local college. I instantly started punching the dude. Took 3 other people to pull me off of him and I tagged one guy in the nose. Still feel kinda bad about that. He ended up taking me to court over it, but the judge ruled in my favor. Said since he used excitable language that started the fight and I instantly reacted without exchanging words. But he was trying to claim I attacked him because he was gay. I had no idea he was gay and could care less. I would have beat the brakes off of him regardless of his sexual orientation. But yay. Dislocated 3 fingers and tore a tendon in one of my fingers when it was all said and done. I do remember his medical issues offhand, but they weren't too good. Definitely left him something he can look in the mirror the rest of his days to remind him about it. But yay, dislocated 3 fingers and tore a tendon in one of my fingers when it was all said and done. I do remember his medical issues offhand, but they weren't too good. Yeah, this is why I don't like fighting. Getting seriously injured from a scrap is only worth it if I was defending myself or a loved one. Dude had been bullying my friends, and I let him know that wasn't cool. Like, throwing basketballs at their heads and suck. And we're talking 11th grade. I don't want this to sound like I'm boasting, but I was like 6'3", 260 and fairly athletic. So he didn't try no mess with me, just my smaller friends. But when I told them to back off of my friends, I guess that made him think I was a good target as well. So while I'm changing in the locker room alone, he walks in and just says, "Man, it must suck to be a N. You must hate being a N, right? And look, there is a camp that says words don't have power if you don't let them, but frick that camp in my opinion." I wasn't going to let the bully believe he can continue bullying and also refer to me as a N. So what followed was a short fight and he never talked to me or fricked with my friends again. I'm a very large nerd, always been bigger than most but super laid back. Every fight I've been in was for sticking up for the little guy who couldn't fight back. Yes, the enforcer nerd, not the head of the friend group, but the one everyone turns to when they need some crap handled. One day in around 6th-7th grade, a group of friends and I were playing basketball. One of the balls hit me directly in the front of my face. Immediately I felt embarrassed, but also enraged, since we had some beef for the following months. In an act of revenge, I hit the kid who I assumed was the one that hit me. He fell down right after crying quietly to himself. A teacher nearby noticed and took me inside to have a talk with me about what I had done. I never got in trouble, because the kid I had hit was rude to most of the teachers at that school. He moved away or got transferred the next year and I never got the chance to apologize for what I did. Geez, yeah, that was a shitball move, dude. In jail, cellmate pee all over the toilet seat and didn't wipe it off. He also farted a lot and wouldn't tell anybody. He was pretty disrespectful in general of our cell. 4 people. Refused to wipe the toilet seat off and didn't even flush. Then said something he shouldn't have and got hit. We fought. He lost and got taken to the hole. The cell kept his commissary and we never saw him again. We had been trying to get him moved for weeks at that point, so the guards already knew there was gonna be a problem. Pretty sure the majority of my physical fights were because I am Asian. The one fight I started was with a guy who was picking on my sister in high school cause she was Asian. Since there are a fair amount of fight-prone females here, of which I am one, I have a question. Is there a name for the male companions of said fight-prone females? I was visiting an old high school friend, female, who like me takes no crap, and we are both married to calm, patient men, who both probably live in dread of having to finish what their wives start. Need a name, preferably German and long, for that. Wherefore, it's not long, but it's German. If you are new to the channel, you can subscribe. I publish new videos every day. Until then, check another video. Bye for now.